Hello everyone, welcome back to Weather on the Go. In this video update, I will be talking about Tropical Storm Celia here spinning across the western coast here of Mexico, moving to the north and west. I also will be talking about a big cool down here coming with a very strong cold front across portions of the north central U.S. and portions of the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. And then I will be kind of looking longer range here at some more severe weather here unfolding in that transition zone here between the heat and the cool down, and also looking kind of longer range toward the end of June here and going through the July 4th holiday. So welcome back everybody. Happy Thursday morning out there. Looking at the satellite imagery here of Tropical Storm Celia here, pretty organized here, but we do have a little bit of some loose convection across portions off the southwest Mexican coast here. A little bit of convection across here, the coastal Mexico here, where we have some thunderstorms, some showers, some heavy rainfall, but a kind of a loosely organized system right now. But this will start to tighten up as we head here in the next couple of days as this starts to move over some warmer water across the eastern Pacific. So it's Tropical Storm Celia here, this is called, and this is going to start to move west-northwestward and then eventually westward here across the open waters of the eastern Pacific basin as we head through the next several days. This is a tropical storm right now, and it will continue to be all the way through here this evening and even in toward early Friday morning. But as we head into Friday morning and toward the midday hours, the anticipation is for a Category 1 hurricane to start to develop here as we head towards the Friday morning, toward the midday time frame, and maintain hurricane status all the way through here, at least the middle of the weekend here towards Saturday evening or Sunday morning. So that will be something to monitor here. This will be moving away from land, but then it will kind of, once it gets out of hurricane status and back into tropical storm status toward late in the weekend into early next week, it will maintain tropical storm status all the way through at least the middle of next week as it moves to the west-northwest and then eventually westward across the eastern Pacific basin. Just generally looking at how some of the model guidance of the intensity of the storm here, the expected intensity, most of the guidance actually shows this maintaining a higher end tropical storm status and not really getting into that Category 1, hurricane status. However, a couple of model guidance here is starting to show trends towards maybe a lower end Category 1 hurricane here for a few days as we head into the eastern Pacific, and then kind of moving down towards portions here of a tropical storm status as we head towards the early portion of next week, and really kind of staying there for the next several days thereafter here into the middle of next week. So that will be something to monitor as well. There is some cooler water across the eastern Pacific, but also some warmer water mixed in as well where it's sitting right now. So that's why it's expected to strengthen into a lower grade hurricane as expected from the National Hurricane Center. But once it reaches these cooler waters, it will, trend, a little bit slower, also trend a little bit, less intense, and that's why the tropical storm status will kind of return as it starts to move westward into that cooler water. Also looking across the Gulf, we do have some warmer waters continuing to billow up across the Gulf, down through the Bay of Campeche, and then across portions here of the Atlantic Basin, right along especially the coastline of the Carolinas and portions there of eastern Florida, and a little bit of warmer water starting to gather across portions of the Caribbean. It's a cooler water southward here towards eastern Central America here into those open waters there, but I do expect those to kind of start to warm up slightly here in the next several days as well, in the next couple of weeks here following as we head towards early July and towards middle of July, as the tropical systems do like these warm waters, and we'll kind of keep an eye on this here as the next several days as it heads toward as we have stuff kind of starting to billow up across the Gulf, potentially into later July and really the rest of hurricane season. But right now here we got that system across portions of the eastern Pacific. Right now pretty quiet across the Gulf, pretty quiet across the Bay of Campeche, all the way through much of the Caribbean, much of the Atlantic Basin as well. We do have an upper level low spinning across portions here of the Atlantic Basin here off the coast here of the Carolinas and Virginia. This is no tropical threat here at all. Maybe some heavier rains across portions here of the Carolinas, but nothing here tropical nature here about this at all. Otherwise pretty quiet across the Gulf, the Bay of Campeche, the Caribbean, and all the way up here through most of the western and central Atlantic. Very quiet here, and that looks to remain the case as well all the way through at least July 1st. So that is some good news across these areas. And then here, as we look a little forward here to more heat across portions of the country here, we got a lot of heat continuing across portions of the south central plains through the southeast and especially into the southwest where that drought does continue. And that looks to continue all the way through at least the end of June across these areas. But to the north, we do have a very potent and very strong cold front expected to drop southward here as we head towards Friday, Saturday. And that will bring some more severe weather that I'll talk about here in just a moment, but some cooler weather gathering across southern portions of the Canadian prairies. And with the strong front, this will start to develop a mid and upper level low that'll pivot around here portions of the northern plains with a cold front attached to it, and that will start to drive its way south and eastward here as we head toward through the weekend into early next week, eventually reaching the Midwest here, portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley, the Missouri Valley, maybe even the central plains here, getting a little bit of a break with some of that heat. But that heat will start to move and retrograde to the west across portions of the desert southwest, the Rockies, and then all the way down into South Texas here into portions of the southeast, still baking in that heat even as we head into early next week. But looking at the heat here in kind of verbatim with what the temperatures look like here, or the expected high temperatures are expected as we head through the day today, we got lower 100s across portions of Texas. We got lower 100s into portions there of Louisiana, into the southeast, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, you name it. But we do have 90s continuing across portions here of the north central plains into the Midwest here. 77 along the lake shore there in Chicago, where we got a little bit of a lake breeze. But then all other areas, mid to upper 90s across portions there of Minnesota, getting into portions there of the Dakotas. We got some cooler weather across the Pacific Northwest, and I know everybody's been wanting some warmer weather there. I promise it is coming as this heat will start to retrograde westward here as this cold front does come in and move southeast here through the next few days. And this is really going to amplify with that cooler air starting to build into the northern plains as we head towards the Friday time period. A lot of lower 100s even here across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, even across the Gulf Coast here, where we could have temperatures as warm as 105 potentially up near the Wichita Falls area, 103 down toward Dallas, Fort Worth, and then getting down toward 100 down toward the Fort Stockton, Texas area. So some pretty hot temperatures are expected. But then as we head toward the weekend, you can start to see the signs here of a stronger cold front here moving to the southeast. We got 60s for highs into North Dakota. We got 70s for highs across northern and central portions there in Minnesota, getting down to South Dakota, northwestern Nebraska here. We still got some 80s and 90s across the Illinois Valley, getting down towards the Ozarks here with lower 100s pretty widespread across Texas, Oklahoma, getting over toward Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, western Tennessee. Still some lower 100s expected here. And this heat will start to retrograde to the west here, places like Seattle, Portland, getting up into the upper 80s to lower 90s here. The heat will be on for those areas and across portions of California, a lot of 100s there as well as you head toward your Saturday. And even on Sunday, this cold front will continue to drag its way to the south, and places like Chicago getting into the upper 70s, lower 80s, the Quad Cities and Davenport, Iowa, up into the upper 70s, mid to upper 70s. Beautiful weather across portions here of the Dakotas, getting in here to portions there of Minnesota, maybe even highs in the mid 60s around the Arrowhead of Minnesota there as well, into northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan here, with some mid-60 temperatures. Still some widespread 100s across central and east Texas, getting into portions of Louisiana and Mississippi. And then you got the heat expanding up into the northeast here with some 80s and 90s as well. And then, like I said, that heat will continue to retrograde to the west here across California, portions of Phoenix, getting up toward Portland and Seattle as we head into that Sunday, June 26th time frame, with some upper 90s potentially getting up toward the Portland area, even up towards Seattle here into those areas, maybe even Boise, Idaho. So we'll have to wait for that and see how that transpires here in the next few days. But the heat will definitely be on across those areas. So if you've been waiting for the heat across the Pacific Northwest, this is going to actually move into your direction in the next few days and through the weekend and even into next week. So do be aware of that. Also, we're with this heat and kind of the transition from the warmer weather up to the north with the cool, the cooler weather here with that strong cold front coming in here from the north as well. We do have some severe weather here to contend with. With today, we got some kind of different areas here with disturbances in the atmosphere. We got a slight risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook across southern Nebraska, getting into northeast Kansas there, a marginal risk extending around that. Places like Omaha, Kansas City, getting down towards Topeka there. And then here you have a marginal risk of severe weather across portions of north central Minnesota, getting into the eastern Dakotas here as we head As we head towards the afternoon hours, another marginal risk up into portions of Montana, and then a smaller marginal risk across eastern Nevada into western Utah here as well. So several different disturbances bringing the chance of severe weather, but the most notable one is across portions of southern Nebraska into northeastern Kansas, where we have a 2% chance of tornadoes as we head through the afternoon and evening today. So looking at here, the reflectivity on radar, we got some showers and storms developing here during the morning hours, kind of a precursor to what the severe weather will be like here in the afternoon. Maybe some gusty winds, maybe some small hail, some cloud to ground lightning, some heavy rainfall here with this. Nothing too big of a deal. This will start to move off to the east here across the Kansas City metro here in the northwestern portions there of Missouri, southeastern Nebraska, southwest Iowa as we head into the afternoon. But looking off to the west, we got more supercells starting to develop across northern Kansas, southern Nebraska in that slight risk zone as we head toward very late this afternoon, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, and then into the evening hours here. Even looking up to the north across that marginal risk zone across Minnesota and the Dakotas there, can't discount the threat here of a few isolated stronger thunderstorms there with some gusty winds and some smaller to medium-sized hail up into those areas, but definitely watching out for that tornado risk across portions of northern Kansas and southern Nebraska as we head toward the evening. And these will kind of fall apart here as we head towards the overnight hours, as we kind of lose the instability, we lose the daytime heating across these areas, and then we have some kind of clustering of storms across south central Minnesota, eastern South Dakota as we head toward the overnight hours, dropping to the south and east as well. And like I said, with the setup, we do have a lot of instability starting to pivot its way up into portions here of Nebraska, Kansas, getting up into the Dakotas, and that will here provide the fuel for maybe some supercell thunderstorms, some supercell composite values showing up across portions here of northeastern Kansas, southern Nebraska, as well up here into portions of the Dakotas as well. But the stronger low-level shear looks to reside across portions here of northeast Kansas and northern Kansas, and getting into southern portions of Nebraska through the day today as well. Then with that cold front that I was mentioning here previously, we do have another slight risk of severe weather across the eastern Dakotas into west central portions of Minnesota as we head into your Friday, with that marginal risk extending into western Wisconsin, portions of eastern Minnesota, much of Iowa, the entire state of Nebraska, getting into far northern Kansas, and then kind of moving its way westward into portions there of eastern Wyoming, portions there of far northeastern Colorado. With that cold front coming in, we do have a threat here for more large hail, more damaging winds, and even that tornado risk, especially across the eastern Dakotas into far northwestern Minnesota, with a couple of isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out here along this front as we head through the afternoon. So looking here at Friday afternoon, we do have some thunderstorms developing along this front here into the North Dakota, maybe a couple of storms here kind of back building down into portions of northern South Dakota. But as we head towards the evening hours, toward the dinner time frame, very late afternoon, early evening, we got a squall line starting to develop, especially across North Dakota here, eastern North Dakota, maybe a couple stronger storms getting down into South Dakota. But as we head toward the evening hours, toward the early to mid-evening hours, we got this kind of bowing segment here moving into portions of western and northwestern Minnesota, and it's kind of tailing its way down into portions there of South Dakota, where we could have some back building, maybe some heavier rainfall here there as well. But the strongest wind looks to be across portions of northwestern Minnesota, getting down into southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota during the evening hours, and this will really take shape into a very long-lived squall line here across portions of Minnesota, portions of the eastern Dakotas into the overnight hours, with a strong low-level jet that will be coming, punching in from the south and west, coming into these storms here as we head toward the evening hours and into the overnight hours. Maybe some stronger storms here, some smaller hail and gusty winds across Iowa as well as we head into the overnight hours here into early Saturday morning. And then this will kind of shift off to the east, kind of more of a heavy rain threat across Iowa, portions of Minnesota, western Wisconsin here into the overnight hours and early Saturday morning. And that'll kind of continue to the east towards the western Great Lakes into the Saturday morning time frame. But generally, looking at the rainfall totals with this, with a very strong squall line and convective system, we do have a potential of upwards of 1 to 3 plus inches of rain across a very widespread swath here across eastern Dakotas into west central Minnesota and even into Iowa there. We could have some localized spots up to 4 inches in rainfall accumulation across especially northwest Iowa, far eastern Nebraska here, where we could have some very heavy rainfall and torrential rain at that and across these areas here heading into Saturday morning. So your Friday night into Saturday morning could be be very soggy for the eastern Dakotas into the west central Minnesota and getting into northwest Iowa for sure. And then just in general, looking at the next 7 days, some heavy rainfall, like I said, with all that here stormy weather across portions of the northern plains, the upper Midwest, getting down towards the Iowa region. We also have that monsoon season continuing across the New Mexico area, getting up into southern portions and central portions there of Colorado, including Denver and Boulder here as well, getting down toward Albuquerque here, and then eastern portions of Arizona just east of Phoenix. And we got a very steady atmospheric river here coming right up into portions there of the western Mexico coast, where we have all that tropical moisture pushing to the north and west, feeding into this monsoonal weather. Also here some very heavy tropical rains across the Gulf Coast into Florida here. Much of the peninsula of Florida here in the next 7 days could be expecting upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rain across those areas, and then some heavier rain across the East Coast here with some of that moisture kind of traveling up the East Coast here from south to north. But largely with that, the heat continuing across the Pacific Northwest underneath that high pressure, you're not going to see much rainfall. So with all the heat that will be on across portions of the Pacific Northwest here the next 7 days or so, Seattle down through Portland, portions of Sacramento, getting down towards Los Angeles, you're not going to be expecting much in the way of rainfall. Even Las Vegas not going to be expecting here much in the way of rainfall in the next 7 days, as the active storm track looks to stay up well to the north across southern and central Canada here the next 7 days as well. And speaking of looking in the future, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook the Climate Prediction Center put out here, we do have from June 28th through July 2nd, the opening days of July. We have that strong ridge continuing across the southern United States. We got another kind of ridge retrograding its way to the west with the high pressure system. And when you have in between there with that monsoonal weather, you can expect some below normal temperatures across those areas. Otherwise, across most of the rest of the United States here, it's either hot or kind of normal temperatures across here, the closing days of June going into early July. And underneath that ridge, you can expect some below normal precipitation largely across the Ohio Valley, getting down toward the Tennessee Valley, maybe some storm clusters up into the Great Lakes region here where we have above normal precipitation, and then well above normal precipitation expected around the Four Corners, especially in New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and Utah, where we could have that monsoon season continuing. And then underneath that ridge off to the west and here into the west coast, don't be expecting much rainfall either here with below normal precipitation underneath that high pressure system. But even further, as we head through the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook here from the last day in June going all the way through the July 4th holiday through July 6th, we got stronger signs, stronger indications from a lot of the longer range model guidance, and even the Climate Prediction Center agrees that we'll have another ridge continuing to build its way to the north across portions of Texas, up into the central plains and portions here of the Tennessee Valley, the southeast, and the northern end of that could get pretty active here, as we could have a kind of a ring of fire pattern across portions here of the northern plains into the Midwest here in the Great Lakes, where we have that here kind of all that moisture kind of pooling its way to the north and moving its way to the east here with the jet stream. And then underneath that ridge, you have below normal precipitation expected across most of the southeast, getting into portions here of the Texas region, maybe near normal precipitation. And then with that monsoon season continuing here across the Four Corners, all the way through the July 4th holiday, even July 6th, expect above normal precipitation there as well, with kind of below normal across portions here of Oregon, getting into northern California, much of northern Nevada, and much of portions there of Idaho underneath that ridge as well off to the west. Well, thank you for watching my video. I hope that was very informative for you. A kind of an outlook of the next several days and kind of looking at the July 4th kind of preview. Do be sure to like my video, and also leave your comments and questions below. I'll definitely be able to answer those. And remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel here, as I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers here by the end of June, so please help me out. Tell family, friends, turn your notifications on here, as I will be also going live later this month into early July as well, covering the severe weather side of things, and also the tropical side of things here, if anything warrants that, as well as we head towards the tropical season as it continues here through June and July and August here as well. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great Thursday, everybody.